In just a couple of weeks, little ghosts and goblins will be out and about in our Suncoast neighborhoods. Their safety and security, of course, needs to be a primary concern, especially for homeowners. In this week's Injuries Are Personal segment with Carl Reynolds Law, we talked to attorney Carl Reynolds about our responsibilities as property owners. Not something we think about so much as we may as parents, but this is a big deal. Halloween is coming up. Many of us will have a lot of visitors. What is our responsibility as property owners?
Well, it's really a common sense approach. Your responsibility is to keep your premises or your home reasonably safe.
But things happen.
Well, things happen.
So how do we define reasonable? Like, what if I'm going out, a couple of days before trick or treat and kind of scanning the area? What type of things should I look out for that some legal savvy person could then come back and ding me for?
Okay. As a property owner or homeowner, what you're looking out for are things that you know about. The loose brick, the loose tile, the hole that would be right next to a place where trick-or-treaters might be walking. Things that you might create, like extension cords running around, any tripping hazards, anything that's hazards like that that could cause injury, those are the things you're looking out for.
All right, you mentioned extension cords. Some people like to make a really big deal about Halloween. Maybe we're setting up a haunted house, maybe we're hiding behind the bushes and jumping out. Does that create legal concern?
It could. The standard is this. It's called a negligence standard in Florida, and what that really means is, it's a fancy legal term. What it really means is doing something a reasonably careful person wouldn't do, or failing to do something a reasonably careful person would do. So would a reasonably careful person jump out of the bushes, especially for a little child that might be standing on a step that could cause them to stumble and fall backwards? If a jury could decide that that wasn't a reasonably careful activity, then you could be held liable, which is another fancy word for meaning responsible. You would be responsible for the injuries and the medical bills associated with those injuries.
So you really have to think about it before you set up the fun haunted house, before you do the fun things. Could this come back to haunt you because a reasonable person should consider the consequences?
Right. I'm not trying to be the Grinch.
Cancel Halloween.
Right. I'm not trying to be the Grinch that stole Halloween here. No. I enjoy Halloween. My children enjoy Halloween. I have 4 that are trick-or-treating age. So it's just be reasonable and be reasonably careful. If you do have extension cords run across, put tape over them, okay? Make sure it's well lit in certain areas. I know that maybe takes us away from some of the spook. But just make sure that anything that's got variances in heights are well lit or well marked or blocked off. Right. And that's really what you're looking for.
Because we're trying to have fun, but we obviously understand that there can be, bad things sadly do happen. Now let's talk about renting.
Okay.
If I am a renter, I don't own the property, who is responsible or liable for anything that should happen on that property?
And I'm going to give you the lawyer answer. It depends. Okay. But what it depends on is it's who's in control of the property. So if you rent a home, for example, and you have exclusive control over the property, you're responsible for that entire property.
For the bricks, the steps, the cords.
Right. So you either need to warn trick-or-treaters about it or fix those things or have the homeowner fix them. But ultimately, if you knew about it, you're on the hook also.
Okay.
All right. Now, if you don't invite trick-or-treaters over your house, if your house is completely dark, then they would technically be called trespassers. Not in the criminal sense, but then your responsibility is a little bit less.
Right.
Now, it's different if you are in an apartment complex. Right in front of your doorstep, yes, you're responsible. If you have a mat that isn't properly secured and they trip over that, that's different. But if they're going downstairs and the lights are not working properly, you don't control that. That's the apartment complex. So the responsibility and duty would be then on the apartment complex, not you as the renter.
It sounds like the bottom line is if you're aware of something, it certainly is a good idea to take care of it.
Common sense.
Common sense. And that way we avoid it.
And if you are injured as a result, we don't hope for those things to happen. You have legal rights, and that's where my firm comes in, and we can help with that.
That's right. We want a safe and happy Halloween for everybody, but should there be any problems, there are people you can call for more information about any of these legal liability questions. Go to injuriesarepersonal.com. We'll be right back.